We are lucky to have Mstyslav right now with us on Zoom. Now we'll start this Q&A. Happy to be here in London and present at the Ukrainian Film Festival your film 20 Days in Mariupol.
Possible just to bring it to the world, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm fortunate that I can't be there. I am in Donbas now. The counteroffensive is going on, and things are very difficult. And as always, what comes to my mind is when I see a film again and again, or I hear people watch it, and the only thing I want to say is that whatever you saw the film is something that is happening right now to many other Ukrainian cities, to many other civilians, and it's hard. It's not 20 days. It's 9 years, and it's going on, and it's going on.
Thank you for continuing.
Thank you for your support.
Your job, and could you tell us when you understood that all the 30 hours of footage which you filmed in Mariupol is not going to be just news and reports, but you want to make a documentary film?
I think it's, I didn't realize it's going to be a film, but somewhere on the day, maybe 7th or 8th, when it was very clear that Mariupol is surrounded, and it was clear that there are no information coming out except what we are sending, I realized that we need to record everything. Every single photo, every single minute of a video matters, and matters not just now to show the world what is happening, but also for the future. So I just made myself a promise to keep recording as much as I can, to keep recording as long as I can. And later, when we left the city, after this journey through 15 Russian checkpoints, after this fear that we might be caught and that our materials will be gone, next day after that, the Mariupol Drama Theater was bombed, and we were devastated because we knew how many people were there. We knew how many people might have died there, and there was no one there to show this. So I thought we need to do more. We need to tell a bigger story, and almost immediately we started this collaboration with the PBS Frontline and started working on the film. And I want to thank my amazing editor, Doral Makruden. He's in the audience now. Thank you so much for supporting me in this film.
I imagine it was very hard to edit the footage for the film, and could you tell us a little bit more about the whole process? And I believe it has some special rules because you're a journalist and you were a journalist, so probably there are some nuances.
I mean, the front line and Associated Press are quite strict with their editorial rules, so there was not much of a space to be to move things around. So we decided to stick to this sequence of days, but also it was quite important to keep the audience with the same feeling that we had, or all the people inside Mariupol had, this feeling of being trapped within the military siege, within information siege, within every narrowing front line around the city every day. So that's why we picked this form of the countdown, and then again we couldn't really move things around, and so we had to follow the rules of documentary filmmaking, but at the same time strict journalistic rules as well. And it was a long, painful process of fact-checking and everything, which again is very important for the film, that and for the material that features potential war crimes.
Thank you, because film is really personal, and we also can feel and relate to your experience, and it's doing an amazing job. I believe there is questions in the cinema, so please raise your hand.
Hi, Mstyslav. Thank you for recording this historic piece of work. I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank everyone else here who came to see this and to tell their friends and their family and everyone about this movie. I'd just like to ask, what can everyone here do to help this movie go more widespread in the world? What can we directly do? Who can we contact? Who can we donate to? What can we do, basically? Thank you.
I guess I can't tell you what to do because I think everyone has to decide for themselves what to do and how to help, whether it's going to be spreading information about this film or about just a lot of great, amazing journalism that is coming out of the country, a very important historical and human work. So spreading the information, telling your friends about this film and about things that are happening, because the nature of the news cycle is what it is. The news come and go, and there is a tendency for most of the people, if they don't see something that is happening in the news, if they don't see something in the news, they think it's not happening at all. So keep it in the news, keep attention of people who are around you, or pick an organization which you trust and which helps Ukrainian civilians, maybe those victims of Mariupol, or as I said, there are so many other cities that are being destroyed, unfortunately. So there's a lot of things. Any kind of support for victims, any kind of support for those who try to survive is vital. Even one life, one family saved is what I want.
Thank you. More questions?
Thank you so much for an incredibly powerful film. You mentioned potential war crimes. I guess what most people would agree, definitely war crimes, what we have seen. We have seen that there has been an indictment for President. Can you hear? Can you hear? So, talking about war crimes, and there has been an indictment for President Putin at the International Criminal Court. There are also many other possibilities being talked about. Do you think that the day will come when some kind of accountability will be had for the crimes committed in Mariupol and elsewhere? And how much do you think that matters? It can't bring the dead back, but do you think it matters in any way?
Olga, could you kindly repeat this question for me, Mike?
The question was, do you believe that the war crimes are going to be punished, and we are going to see the leaders who started it at the court? And do you think this court and this trial, which we are hoping and coming, does it matter?
It matters to, yes, not only to Ukrainians. It's just, the fact that international courts of justice exist, I think it keeps the world together, not only Ukrainians. The general belief in some kind of higher justice makes us hope for a future for justice. But it's more a philosophical conversation. International courts take time. I was closely following the case of MH17 when Russia shut down Boeing airplane over the Donbas. Now the court concluded that it was Russia. However, that took 6, 7 years for this conclusion, and the evidence was pretty definitive. And a lot of cases have started after Bucha was liberated, but they've started so soon because international prosecutors had access to to the place of where the crime was happening and to the bodies of the victims, and to the footage and photos and videos, so that allowed them to start investigations. The problem with Mariupol is that, first of all, the scale of these possible war crimes is unimaginably bigger. If we're talking about hundreds of cases in Bucha, in Irpin, we are talking about thousands of cases in Mariupol. But investigation cannot start until the Mariupol is deoccupied, until this 2030. Now we know that there are around 40,000 of graves on the outskirts of Mariupol. And until those graves are researched, until the investigators go through the ID checks and genetic tests, and until they access the place where these crimes were taken happens, they cannot investigate. And we know for certain that also Russian prosecutors who are currently prosecuting Ukrainian prisoners of war, they make them sign, they torture them and they make them sign papers that they actually were the ones who did it. So that is another complication.
Yeah, it takes time, and that's why it's really good we have your film. And please, more questions from the audience.
Hello, Mstyslav. It's very hard to talk for me because I'm the person from Mariupol and you make me cry all alone. But I hope I'm not alone here from Mariupol. And I've been there for 2 months, so I've seen a bit more than 20 days in Mariupol. And I want to say the biggest thanks to you and to your team to showing this to people. And it is a small bit, I would say like 10% of what we've seen and went through. But if I just say the biggest thank you, and I know it's unimaginable, but you said so many right things that world need to see this, because if it's not on the news, if it's not on the films, people just keep living their lives, and while so many people died. So if I need to ask the question, what was the reaction of people from Mariupol that seen your film as well? Because you just make me cry, you make me remember all the seconds I experienced there, and what other people say from Mariupol.
You're amazing. All Mariupol people are amazing. I hope this film will be some kind of a monument to those who didn't survive. But it will be a reminder as well of how strong were the people who survived, and we got a lot of help. Our survival depended on people from Mariupol, or people, just civilians who surrounded us, doctors, police, but also civilians and volunteers and the Red Cross workers. Everyone helped. All those residents of Mariupol, they're great. But I was afraid. I have to tell you, I was a little bit afraid of causing more trauma to those who lived through this horror. And but a lot of people came, a lot of people in Ukraine from Mariupol, because everyone is scattered now, carrying Mariupol in their hearts. A lot of people came, and I felt it was some kind of a cure for them. Cure because they cried, and I cried too. But it was a moment when everybody knew that now no one will forget about what happened there. Now, at least the world knows what we all went through. So I think this is a bigger, like, processing all this trauma through collective collective memories through documentary films, through books, is a way for a collective treatment for all Ukrainians. So this needs to be done, and it needs to be done for also for the future generation, for children which are growing now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this powerful experience. Incredible footage, remarkable narration, beautiful music. Towards the end, you're asking questions. You're talking about your children, how they will, when they grow up, they will ask you, Dad, what were you doing during the war? What did you do to make it stop? What did you do to help? You don't answer this question in the film. Do you have an answer now? Being on the front line, filming, counteroffensive, being amongst our defenders. Have you come up with an answer now?
That's a very good question, and a very difficult one. I hope I did find it, at least that's what makes me go forward, in spite, we are all very tired, as you can imagine. All Ukrainians are all military, journalists, and firefighters, police. Everyone is extremely tired, and it's very hard to find a reason to get up in the morning and just keep doing what you do. But I think the search for the answer to that question is what keeps me up, and I think the search is part of the answer. Is this our collective struggle for meaning, collective struggle for survival, right? And until you do something every day, even the smallest thing, then you can look in the mirror and you can go on. And every single person in the team, our team, I really want to thank my team, Vasilisa Stepanenko and Zhenya Maletka for being with me there. And I think we all feel the same.
Yeah, that's unbelievable that you have strength enough to continue your job after everything what you've came through. Please, more questions from the audience.
Hi. After the Second World War in 46-47 in Germany, civilians of Germany were forced, after the work, they are coming back from their work, they were forced to go to the cinema theaters and watch documentary footage of what the Hitler regime was doing. Would you like this movie to be shown after Ukraine's victory in Russia for the Russian civilians as an obligatory sort of, not a choice if they want to watch it or not, for them to go and see, to go and watch?
Look, I heard that too. Yes, I read about this, and I would, as a journalist, I would tell you no. I don't want to force anyone to watch anything. Nothing good comes out of that. But I want the film to be fair, accessible for those who do want to watch it. Maybe not now, maybe later, but I want this to be there for people who want to know more. But no, I personally wouldn't want to force anyone to watch it. I'm sure a lot of Ukrainians would. That's what I'm going to tell you. I hear it all the time from the audience that it should be forced. So I will let this decision to be in the hands of fellow Ukrainians.
Yes, and one more question, maybe two.
Just one, because we have a curfew here, so I have to keep driving. Sorry.
Yes.
But yes, at least one more question. At least one more question.
Thank
Hello,
you.
and thank you very much for this really powerful film. I've seen a few films about Mariupol, including something that was made by my colleagues at the BBC, the People's Mariupol People's Story, but I have to say that your film really, I feel completely torn. It's really strong. So thank you very much for doing this. And now I have a question as a journalist to journalist. You say that this is Ukraine's story it's a news cycle, and when people don't see it on their screens or don't read about it online, they think it goes away. And I personally have this struggle, and my colleagues have this struggle. How do you, when you're out there in the Donbas where you're right now, and you talk to your editors, how do you make them understand that this is a story that needs to be told? So what's your, how do you do it?
Olga, can you just find the final part of the question here?
Yes, how do you persuade your editors to keep going and keep telling Ukrainian stories, covering on the situation in Ukraine?
Oh, be careful, my editors aren't in the audience. I don't persuade anyone. There's nothing to be persuaded. I think it's a very common sense that it's one of the most important stories in the world right now, and it has to be well covered with all the nuances, and we have to do everything to be sure that we detail every nuance of what is happening right now. I just think that as we go forward, and this is again a common understanding between, it's a shared understanding between teams on the ground and editors in the newsrooms, that right now we need to tell longer, more comprehensive, deeper stories that help international audience to understand not only what is happening in this particular day, but reasons for that and possible consequences for that. So giving an audience more of a wider picture. And this film actually is a part of that effort to give more comprehensive, larger context story, partially because that's what is needed now, and also partially because with all the fake news, with all the misinterpretation that is, because we live in an age of misinterpretation, not even fake news, it's misinterpretations. And giving more context to the viewers, to the news readers, helps people to resist this misinterpretation of what they see. So that is what I think we have to focus on right now.
Thank you, Mstyslav, and thank you for joining us today. I understand that the curfew and you're really tired, and thank you for your job first of all. I think everyone can say thank you to you now.